and he's also my backup just in case my throat collapses. So I hope all of you are looking forward to this discussion. I was keenly interested to come here because after especially last couple of years I've been wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. और Shark Tank देख के तो बस आग लग गई है, मुझे भी करना है. So I've just come here to learn more than interact. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much all of you for coming here today, and thank you so much all the wonderful audience as well. So the first topic is very relevant in the current times because as everybody knows, it's the funding winter. The funding for Indian startups has dropped by almost 30 more than 30% in the last year, and everybody is hoping for a revival because it's very difficult for the startups to raise funds in the current scenario. So the topic right now that we are discussing is how to survive like a cockroach. So because there is a lot of young population here, just the meaning of this line is cockroach कहीं पे भी कैसे भी circumstances में चला जाता है और बच के निकल जाता है. So how do you become a startup like that who can actually survive in any kind of situations? But before coming to that topic, it's very important to understand कि पहले startup होता क्या है? Because okay, let's say because I am an aspiring entrepreneur, if I open a cosmetics shop, will that be a startup? Mr. Jain, would you like to start with this?
Yeah. Basically, startup. Basically, it's a little new fancy word I would say, जो शायद maybe last decade में limelight आया है. But basically, what do you mean by startup? Let me share with a few examples. How many of you over here would have ordered on e-com platform like Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, Nykaa? Show of hands. Almost all. How many of you would have ordered food from platform like Zomato, Swiggy? Almost 80-90%. How many of you would have ordered medicine from platform like 1mg, PharmEasy and all? Majority of them. Maybe a decade back or maybe 5, 7, 10 years back, अगर medicine चाहिए था, we would have gone to a nearby pharmacy. अगर ticket book करना है या तो agent था, but अभी ease my trip, make my trip and all. And so on. Shopping करना था, physical outlet, stores में जाते थे, but today online. My children, they don't want to go to store, but still I prefer. But anyway, that's a change of mindset of the generation. इन लोगों ने किया क्या है? They have ruptured the market. They have identified क्या है pain point, and they have marketed it and they have worked aggressively towards it to have reach at this level. So कहने का मतलब ये है, normal company, let's say example of a किराना store, अगर वो एक shop खोलता है तो what he does, 10, 20, 25, 50 जन को employer का opportunity मिलेगा, and he will be catering to a nearby vicinity only. Unlike, let's say a big basket, जो बहुत ही online का target किया है and they are reaching unlimitedly with virtually no geographical distance. So basically, this is the difference between a normal company and a startup, जहाँ पे ये लोग aggressive है, using technology and with a good employment opportunities, and they identify कि what is the pain point and they have very aggressive plan. A normal store might have would be happy with maybe 10, 20, 30%, 40% growth. But the startup entrepreneurs are not happy with this 10, 20, 30. They are looking at 100, 200, 500,000% growth. So this is the difference between a normal company and a startup.
Okay, that's great. So now that we understand what a startup is, And so I'll pick up one line that you said, that one of the traits of being a startup is aggression. But aggression has its own downfall as well, the downside. And आप बहुत ज़्यादा जल्दी ग्रो करोगे तो गिरने के chances भी उतने ही ज़्यादा होते हैं, because you know you raise funds from VCs, HNIs, etc. Then there's a lot of pressure that you go through. I'm sure both of these gentlemen would agree with me. Um, and right now एक स्टेज तक तो ग्रो कर लिया, but then especially when the funding, there's a funding winter going on, how do you raise further funds? और जो raise भी किया है, the you know, to manage the pressure of that, to show the growth numbers, how do you deal with all of that? Sir, would you like to share some insights?
Yeah, before that, good afternoon to all of you and festive greetings. So, I mean, it's a very unique that India is celebrating festivals across the length and breadth of the country. So you have different festivals in different areas, right? Talking about funding winter, if you look at the numbers of what we have seen over the last 1 year, I mean, the calendar year 2022. Funding has come down by 50% for late stage investments, largely because they are largely driven in the liquidity and valuation has a huge impact for this segment. But if you look at early stage, where SINE, Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship as a technology business incubator operates in, that segment has not seen much of an impact. Mainly for reasons that the quantum of investment that goes into this segment is pretty low, right? And valuation per se doesn't have much of an it's not a critical factor out there, because innovators who are raising money at seed, pre-series or series, they are looking to kind of build the business at much earlier stage, right? Having said that, how do you survive this funding winter? Startup per se are very frugal organization. When I say frugal organization is that, think about it, they start with an idea, right? I mean, both of them started off with an idea, build on that idea, right? Raise limited amount of capital actually to execute it. So in their DNA, they already have a kind of a tendency to kind of conserve capital and use that capital very, very efficiently. So the early stage absence of, it's very critical, funding is very critical, but even if it's not readily available, you can still manage it because the team size is small, your requirements are very small because you're probably still developing the product and you need to kind of fine tune the product. Maybe kind of the people who are joining you doesn't have a kind of a large desire to have kind of a high paying salary, and it is more or less kind of compensated with a good ESOP scheme. So from that perspective, funding winter is limited at an early stage, but if you want to survive, you will have to kind of efficiently use your capital, not go overboard in terms of aggressive expansion, which requires a huge amount of capital. You need to burn a lot of capital because you are acquiring customer, and you are acquiring customer at a cost, right? And this is funded largely by the investors in Series B and Series C. And if they pull back, your expansion gets stuck. But still, you can manage it if you can. Your business is able to generate enough capital that can be recycled, right, to acquire new customers.
Okay. Siddharth, how has your experience been in the last couple of months? And are you being able to do all of these effectively and without much stress, cutting down costs, managing operations efficiently?
या आई मीन ये सबसे अच्छा टॉपिक है आज के लिए बात करने के लिए. बट मैं एक्चुअली शुरुआत करूँगा. थैंक यू मनोज फॉर इनवाइटिंग अस एंड थैंक यू द लवली ऑडियंस. और आपका जो पहला क्वेश्चन था वो बहुत वैलिड था, क्योंकि वो समझने के बाद पता चलेगा कि यार स्टार्टअप है तो फंडिंग क्यों चाहिए, फंडिंग नहीं आएगी तो क्या होगा. that is where you should, and I think Ajay has rightly said कि startup क्या है. I would just like to add there, startup क्या है और एक कंपनी क्या है, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है आई थिंक. तो जब मैं इलेक्ट्रोमेटल्स में था, जो इंट्रोडक्शन दिया मनोज ने, तो हमारे क्लाइंट ने फैक्ट्री डाली, राइट. एंड जब मैं स्टार्टअप करने लगा तो वो बोला यार मेरी फैक्ट्री भी है, मैं भी फंड रेज कर सकता हूँ क्या? तो यहाँ पे एकदम समझ में आया था कि यार ये स्टार्टअप क्या है और एक कंपनी क्या है. तो स्टार्टअप को आप ऐसे समझ सकते हैं कि स्टार्टअप एक पौधा है, राइट. यू हैव अ आइडिया, आइडिया एक सीड है, आपने उसको ज़मीन में डाला, अब आप उसमें पानी डालना है. पानी डालोगे वो ग्रो करेगा, है ना. अगर वो ग्रो करके पेड़ तक बन सकता है ना, तब तो वो बहुत सही है. वो आइडिया है, वो स्टार्टअप है और हर जगह आके हमें पानी डालना चाहता है ताकि जब पेड़ बन जाएगा तो सब जने फ्रूट्स खाएंगे, राइट. लेकिन अगर वो पानी डालने के बाद एक पौधा ही बनेगा, छोटा सा ही रहेगा, कोई फ्रूट निकलेगा ही नहीं, तो भी वो एक प्लांट है, वो अच्छा है, बट वो एक छोटी कंपनी ही रहेगा, राइट. जो अजय डिफाइन कर रहे थे कि किराना स्टोर है, वो छोटा ही रहेगा. बट इफ यू, आपके आइडिया में वो पोटेंशियल है कि इसमें कुछ लिमिटेड चीज़ें अगर मैंने डाली, एंड वो लिमिटेड चीज़ें क्या हैं कि अगर आप उसमें कैपिटल डालते हो, एवरीथिंग इज फेयर. अगर मैं सिर्फ इसमें कैपिटल डालूंगा तो मैंने सब कुछ सेट कर रखा है, ये ग्रो 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 करता जाएगा. कैपिटल इज द ओनली थिंग विच आई नीड. आई कैन कट शॉर्ट टाइम. सो टाइम इज बीइंग सब्स्टिट्यूटेड बाय कैपिटल. कि अगर मैंने तुम्हें अच्छा ये करोगे तो 15 साल में पहुंचोगे, 20 साल में पहुंचोगे, करते रहोगे. क्या मैं तुम्हें कैपिटल दूं तो क्या तुम्हें 4 साल में अचीव कर सकते हो? एंड डू यू हैव द एम्बिशन? इज द आइडिया रियली सस्टेनेबल के वो उस एनवायरनमेंट में ग्रो करके कंपटीशन को किल करेगा, राइट. सो दैट इज एसेंशियली व्हाट अ स्टार्टअप इज, एंड दैट इज वेयर द होल पॉइंट ऑफ कैपिटल कम्स इन. कि यार वो जो चीज 15 या 20 साल में करनी है, क्या वो हम 4 साल में कर सकते हैं, राइट. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कोई भी, अगर मैं अपने इस पे में बात करूँ बिजनेस में, तो देयर आर फार्मेसीज, चेन भी पहले आई हैं, राइट. 2003 से चली और 17-18 साल में वो उस स्टेज पे पहुंची जो शायद हमने 4 साल में एग्जीक्यूट किया. व्हाई? बिकॉज वी हैड द कैपिटल, दे डिड नॉट हैव द कैपिटल. सो उन्होंने कैपिटल अपने सिस्टम में बनाया, जनरेट किया, डाला, फिर आगे बढ़े. बट कितना बढ़िया बिजनेस था, राइट. कि वो कैपिटल जनरेट करते गए, उससे ग्रो करते गए. किसी ने देखा कि यार मैं इनको शुरू में कैपिटल दे रहा हूँ, शायद जल्दी ग्रो कर लाते, राइट. एंड दैट इज हाउ द होल इन्वेस्टमेंट मार्केट इज इवॉल्विंग. कि यार जो आइडियाज जो खुद पैसा बना के ग्रो करके टाइम लगाएंगे, कैन वी पुट कैपिटल इन एंड ग्रो. अब जैसे ही ये स्टेज आई तो आपने कैपिटल लिया और टाइम को शॉर्ट करना है, तो आपने कैपिटल लेके यूज करना है. आप जहाँ पे एक लोकेशन डालते हैं, आपने 15 लोकेशन डालनी है, राइट. एंड ये कैपिटल